All right. I don't know what I'm talking about today. It's another rant. All I know is I just want to make a video, see what I can talk about. Kind of like my last video, had nothing to really talk about, but then I looked at my list here and then I went from there. Does consciousness transcend the body? What, like, such a ridiculous question to start off with. Like, look at this doofus in his tank top and hat and his crappy Apple mic talking about consciousness. Wow, dude, you watch Joe Rogan. Good for you. That is true. I actually am a big fan of Joe Rogan. And it is true that I've thought more about this topic because of him. So yeah, I feel like it's a good question. It's a weird question. Makes me think. It makes me think more about what consciousness actually is. You know, what is our experience here on Earth like? Are we actually experiencing reality like the way it is? You know, I would say no. I would say that's impossible to know. Mainly because, like, if you think about being human, right? You have a brain that essentially is relaying information through your eyes, through your ears, all your senses, and putting together a picture of what you think reality is. I mean, right now I'm sitting in my dining room, kitchen. I'm looking at the kitchen from here, and I think I see a stove and some pans and olive oil over there. But that's merely my brain reflecting light and enough of it to tell me what I might recognize that as, which is a bottle of olive oil. Really weird and niche reference, right? But that is kind of the basis of our reality. Reality as we know it is just what we perceive. Mind-blowing, I know, right? Rocket science, I know. But that makes me think, you know, I've often thought about, like, do we have, like, what if we had an extra organ that would help us pick up on another layer of reality, right? If you're born blind and someone's trying to describe vision and the idea of sight to you, like, it wouldn't make any sense. You'd be like, what the hell are you talking about? You know, that's a good question too. Like, what do blind people see? You know, I know when I close my eyes, I see like colors and sometimes fragments or whatever, just like floaties in my eye. But what do they see? What do blind people see? If there's a blind person watching this video or listening to the video, if you can, find a way to comment and tell me like what you actually see. Same with deaf people, right? Like, oh, that's a tough one. If you're watching this with captions on, you know, and you can kind of lip read. Oh, but then again, it's like, if you're born without hearing, if you're born without the ability to hear, what language do you think in? Again, these are really like surface level stoner questions, but they're important, right? Like, I don't think I've seen a video or like listened to anyone who can actually like tell me what blind people from birth are seeing and what deaf people from birth are hearing. Like, if you're deaf from birth, what language do you think in? Do you have an internal monologue? You know, I have an internal monologue. Like, I think about things in my head all the time, right? In English. I would think it's in English, right? The language I learned from being a child to now is the English language. So I think about things in English. But what do deaf people think? Like, what language do they think in? Anyway, unimportant. Consciousness. Are humans the only animal that possess like an actual consciousness? The ability to think, predetermine things, think deeply on existence. As far as we know, I think we are. I know dolphins are getting close. I know maybe dolphins are in the Stone Age. I know chimps are in the Stone Age. Gorillas, chimps. They're like using tools and, or quote unquote tools. They're using stones to move things around, whatever. Do they possess like an inner monologue? I don't know. Just me rambling. That's why the playlist that this video is going to go in is called Rambling. It's because I'm rambling about kind of random thoughts and tangents I have. My takeaway, my contention is that consciousness does transcend the body. I think we can transcend our physical form through dreams. I think, you know, I think out of body experiences are real. I don't think I've had one yet, but I believe people when they tell me about them, you know. What else would that be? Would that just be a chemical? Would that just be synapses firing in your brain, giving you the illusion that you're floating out of your body? I just think that's too convenient of an answer. I think out-of-body experiences are real, and I think consciousness can transcend the body and potentially interact with a dimensional layer we're not familiar with, either through drugs. I'm not a drug user myself, but I've watched others like Joe Rogan, etc., talk about DMT use and how that influences how we perceive reality. So much so that it's so tangible and real that they believe they were transported to another dimension. This is such a tangent, I know. I know this is so goofy to talk about, but what if there's validity to that? You know, what if their experience is real? Like, they're actually going to another plane of existence, they're leaving their body temporarily and then returning. What does that tell us about like reality in general. You know, what that tells me, as I mentioned earlier, is that we're not actually perceiving real reality. We're just perceiving what our primitive brains can allow, which, you know, is pretty cool. You know, life in general, like what I can look at and hear and experience is pretty cool still, but I think there's a whole nother layer that we can transcend. I haven't done it yet, but perhaps someday. So there's my rambling for the day. Appreciate it. I'll see you in the next video.